8-year-old Tommy had always been afraid of the dark. His parents tried everything to ease his fears, from night lights to gentle reassurance. But despite their best efforts, he would still lie awake in bed, staring into the abyss of his room. He convinced himself that the darkness harbored monsters, especially under his bed. Tommy's fears intensified one rainy night in July. The storm outside pounded the windows with relentless fury, and each clap of thunder seemed to shake the very foundations of his house. He huddled under his covers, trembling, listening to the wind howl and the rain lash against the glass. His parents had reassured him before going to bed, but their words felt distant now. Just as Tommy was about to drift off, a soft, scratching noise emanated from beneath his bed. He froze, wide-eyed, staring at the dark space just inches from his face. The noise persisted, scratching, then a faint whisper that seemed to drift up from the darkness. Tommy's heart raced. He tried to tell himself it was just the storm, but the whispering grew clearer, almost as if someone, or something, was trying to speak to him. He pulled the covers over his head, but the whispers still seeped through. Tommy. Tommy, the voice was soft and childlike, but carried an eerie quality that made Tommy's blood run cold. He slowly and shakily peeked out from under the covers, squinting into the dim light of his nightstand. The scratching had stopped, but the whispering continued. He inched closer to the edge of the bed, his breath shallow and quick. The storm outside seemed to intensify, with thunderclaps echoing through the house. As the flashes of lightning illuminated his room, Tommy dared to look down at the space beneath his bed. He saw nothing but shadow, yet the whispers grew louder. "Come closer, Tommy." Trembling, Tommy dropped to his knees and looked under the bed. There, in the dark void, his eyes caught sight of something unsettling. Two pale hands, barely visible, seemed to clutch the edge of the bed frame. Tommy's heart pounded so hard he could barely breathe. He wanted to scream, but his voice caught in his throat. In the brief flashes of lightning, he saw the outline of a face, pale, with hollow eyes staring back at him. The face had a twisted, sorrowful expression, like a mask of anguish. The eyes, dark and empty, seemed to beg for release or perhaps for something more sinister. "Tommy, why did you hide from me?" Tommy scrambled away from the edge of the bed, pulling the covers over his head again. The whispers continued, growing more desperate, more insistent. Thunder rumbled, louder and louder, shaking the walls. The whispers turned into mournful cries, echoing through the room. Tommy squeezed his eyes shut, trying to block out the sounds, but they seeped into his very bones. Suddenly, the whispers stopped. The room was eerily silent, except for the storm outside. Tommy cautiously peeked out from under the covers once more. The room was still, and the space beneath his bed was empty, except for an old, dusty teddy bear that hadn't been there before. The next morning, Tommy's parents found him curled up in his bed, clutching the teddy bear tightly. They asked him what had happened, but he just shook his head, tears streaming down his face. He never spoke of that night, but the fear never truly left him. Years later, when Tommy moved out of his childhood home, he stumbled upon an old photo album. In it, he found a picture of himself as a toddler, holding a teddy bear. The photo was marked with a date, July 13th, the very night of the storm. Tommy's heart sank as he noticed the teddy bear in the picture was the same one he had found under his bed that night. The one that had mysteriously appeared. But it wasn't the teddy bear alone that chilled him. In the background of the photo, behind the smiling faces of his younger self and his parents, he saw a pale figure with hollow eyes, lingering in the darkness. And to this day, Tommy never sleeps soundly. Whenever a storm rolls in, he can't help but listen for the whispers that might come creeping back, from a dark and restless place beneath his bed.